Jim Peters on Peters Principles, and as you know, you never know who you're going to see on Peters Principles. And today we have Susan Rue, I want to call you, but that's not, that goes back a few years. Susan LeMay. Sure. You have Susan LeMay with us, and Susan is the Chief City Assessor. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm kind of excited about this interview because I've never known what the Chief City Assessor did, and how the assessments were arrived at and things like that. So I think we'll start there. What does the assessor do?
Well, hi, and thanks for having me, first of all.
Oh, sure.
Actually, we do a lot of things. Besides just assessing property, making sure that the properties are at full and fair cash value, and the majority of the properties in the city of Lowell are single-family properties.
Right.
Over 12,000 of them in the city are single-family properties.
Really? I didn't know it was that high.
Yep, that's a major class of property, and those are done by the sales in the city. So it's basically the market. Whatever the real estate market is doing in the city, that's what we actually make sure that the values come in at annually, and we do assess annually nowadays. So that is the crux of what we do in the assessor's office. However, we do a lot more than that, and I think most of the people in the city, that's what we're known for. Assessing property on an annual basis, and helping to set the tax rate once the city council passes the budget. But we do a lot more than that, and those are the kind of things that I'd like to talk about today, things that I think people would be more interested in. Some of those are the cyclical program that we actually do in-house, and people come and see us knocking on their door, and if they're home, we tell them that we're there to inspect the property. And if they're not home, they actually see that we leave a card or a door hanger for them, asking them to give us a call.
Oh, I had mine inspected
yes.
maybe a year ago.
Did you? And you know something, it's you're better off letting us do it, because that way there we make sure that we have all of the correct data that's actually on the property, because that does run the value. So that if we have incorrect data on the property, you may not get the most accurate assessment on the property. And as you saw when we did go into the property, it takes us what, 5 minutes?
Yeah,
and it's basically a walkthrough, because you don't have to stand there while we measure the outside of the property. And we've already got all the information. We're just basically going in and checking off to make sure that everything is accurate. Right. So it's well worth you letting us in to do that. We're not going to force our way into it. Obviously, if you don't want us to go in, we don't. There's been times where there may be an elderly person that doesn't want somebody they don't know in, and the majority of the people in the city, I've been there in that office alone, with the city 35 years now almost. But in that office, yeah, I'm giving my age away a little bit, am I? That's all right. But in that office about 23 years now as the assessor. So most of the people know me, and some of the elderly people would prefer someone that they know, and I've actually had people say, can you come through? And I've done that for people, and I certainly would do that anytime they ask. But it works, and it's all in-house people that do it, so it's all people that I've actually trained, and so we all do it the same way, and it's all people from my office that do it. One of the other things we do is excise, for example. So if you excise, we send out the bills. When we get the information in from the Registry of Motor Vehicles, we send out the bills. Well, if you sell your car, or you cancel your plates, or you trade your plates, or you trade your car and you put your plates on another vehicle, you've already paid your excise for the year. Come in and see us, because we can actually give you an adjustment on that tax bill for the year. There's a lot of people that still don't know that. So
I didn't know that.
Yes, and we actually have right online. A lot of our information is right online. If you ever get a chance, go online. Take a look at our webpage. We have a lot of this information right on there. But we have an application that you can fill out. You can actually scan it into your computer if you do use a computer. Some of us are computer illiterate, but some of us can scan and send it in. I actually get a lot done now on the computer, and a lot of people scan this information into me. They don't even have to come into our office anymore. But you can fill out an application, download it, fill out an application, and give us a copy of the cancellation receipt and a copy of the bill of sale, and we can adjust that tax bill for you. So, and you'll get a refund and it'll come from the collector's office. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks for you to get that refund, because if you bought another car, you're going to get another bill from the date that you bought the car through the end of the year.
Right.
There's no need to pay 2 tax bills, you know, two excise tax bills in one year.
I thought you had to.
Nope, you don't. No, you can get an adjustment on that first bill. Now, if you keep the car, because some people have 2 cars and they have a summer car and a winter car, if you keep that car, even though you cancel the plates for the summer while you have that winter car, you can't get an adjustment. So as long as you keep the car, you cannot get an adjustment. If you wanted to keep the car and put it in your garage, for example, because you're not supposed to have a car on the street that's not registered, you cannot get an adjustment on it, but you're not necessarily going to get another excise bill for the next year as long as you don't re-register that vehicle. So.
Well, that's interesting.
It is.
I thought that it was automatic that you had to pay the
bill for the whole year?
Yeah.
No. If you sell the car or you trade it in and you get another vehicle, you don't have to pay on both vehicles, because when you get an excise tax bill, it's basically for the entire year. So if you're only going to use that vehicle for a portion of the year, you should get an adjustment for the portion of the year that you're not going to use that vehicle. As long as you've actually sold the vehicle and canceled the plate, or sold the vehicle and transferred the plate to another vehicle, we can make an adjustment on that bill for you.
Oh, that's good to know.
Oh, yeah.
I drive older vehicles, so I don't have that much of an excise bill, but my wife did.
Yeah.
Because she bought a Prius.
Yes.
And those are expensive cars.
Sure. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about too was the exemptions that we offer. We have statutory exemptions or personal exemptions. Many of the elderly people that already know about these, but if you don't, I run into people all the time that didn't realize that they may qualify for an exemption. So if you're over 70 years old, for example, and you own property in the city, you may be eligible for a statutory exemption or a personal exemption. It's on you, it's not on your property, it's on you yourself. If you are over 70 years old and you have limited income and assets, come and see us or give us a call. And we actually have, and I brought one with me, we actually have a flyer that we have in our office. And we also have this information again on our website. You should take a look at it. There's a couple of different ones that we offer, and they're all state mandated. And there's one that pays up to $750, and that's off your taxes.
Right.
It's not so much off your value, it's literally off the tax. Again, one of them is just off the, it's a limited assets.
Now, what is this one, when is this one used?
This is annual. This is
an annual.
annually, and you can file anytime between, anytime after July 1st, and up through 3 months after the actual tax bill is issued.
Right.
So if it's issued on December 31st, you can file through March 31st.
Okay. I wanted to ask you a question about, do you keep a listing of all the buildings in Lowell?
Yes,
Is it on the computer or is it in the book?
both.
It's
We
both?
actually have a database with every property in the city, taxable and non-taxable. And annually, once the tax bill is issued, we have what you call a commitment book. And that is, the commitment book is actually done by name, so that it's based on the tax bill itself. So it's printed out by name, and that book is printed, and it has to, they're bound, and it has to be kept forever and a day. So those have to be kept in a safe place. But we usually keep them in the safe itself. So
Do you let people, I'm writing a book on architecture in Lowell, some interesting architecture in Lowell.
Yep.
And it contains quite a few pictures, but would you allow me to take a book to a section of the office and look through it?
Yes.
Because I've got some interesting buildings that I have to try to get some information on.
Yeah. If you're looking for buildings, I mean, we have a database. You can actually go online. Our properties are online as well.
No, I didn't know that.
Yes, we have all our properties
I should have
online,
known that, but I
but they're
didn't.
more current because they're actually, as of course, you know, we update our properties on a daily basis, obviously. So that is current information that's online. If you are looking online, you can certainly, the names are current, and most of the information is current, including the sketches. We update the sketches as we go along.
Right.
The information in our office is probably what you want to look at more so, though, because the pictures are more current, so that we have computers on the counter that are for the public to use, and that's probably what you want to look at. If you're looking at older information for buildings, those books are actually by name, so it may be, if you know who owned those buildings, that's what you'd have to know in order to look at the commitment books, because they are done by name and not by property location.
Okay, well, I'm trying to find the names. I'm working with Dick Howe's office
Okay.
to find the names, and I got a sheet of paper from your office listing Dick Howe's webpage.
Okay. That's one
so-
way to do it. If you looked up the deeds and you found out who owned the property on a certain
Right.
date, then you'd be able to look at those commitment sheets.
Okay, that's what I'm doing. So
Okay.
that works out well. Okay.
All right, but if you're looking for pictures, there's no pictures in the commitment books. It's
Oh,
just,
that's all right. I've got pictures.
okay, because it's just information on the property itself.
Yeah, I've got pictures of each one that I thought was interesting enough to put in the book.
All right, yeah,
So,
definitely. Yes, you can do that. You know, obviously, we can only keep so many years in our safe downstairs, so the rest we'd have to pull for you, so we'd have to know in advance. But yes, you can certainly come in and look at those. They're open to the public. It's
Okay,
public
that's-
information.
That's great, because I have a number of locations. We should have some very interesting architecture in Lowell, especially when you talk about the old mansions on Pawtucket Street or on Andover Street, or where Centralville has some what have mostly been turned into apartments, but used to be old mansions.
Yes.
And Middlesex Street has the same thing. Apartment houses that used to be old mansions, so it
Yeah.
just
And some of them now have been turned into condominiums, too.
have they?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we do have some pretty unique properties in Lowell. As a matter of fact, one of the database companies I deal with, they do a calendar every year, and a couple of times, and of course there's only 12 pictures because there's only 12 months,
Right.
but a couple of times we've actually had a property from Lowell in that calendar, featured in the calendar, because we do have some beautiful properties.
yeah. I had an experience with my brother-in-law, who, as you know, is Paul Songas, and he took a member of his staff home from the airport, and they were going. This member of the staff was going to stay at Paul's house. So they were driving to Paul's house, and I was in the back of the car, and I heard Paul say, "See that house over there? You know what that sold for?" And it was like a pittance compared to what it would sell for in Arbor Way or any part of Boston or anything like that. It was just minuscule comparatively,
Yeah.
and it was a beautiful mansion 35 minutes from Boston.
It's amazing.
It isn't that far away.
It's not that far away, and what you can get in Lowell, it's just amazing. And people say that to me all the time, because I deal with assessors from all over Massachusetts, and they say that to me all the time. It's amazing what you can get in Lowell, and what you get in Lowell, not just the homes, but what you get for your dollar in Lowell.
Right.
They find it quite unique.
Yeah, I think it's. I had this person come up to me after I did a show once, and he said, "Mr. Peters, I have a. I'm trying to find a place to live in Lowell, and it's too expensive."
Yep.
And that was never. I don't know about when you were growing up, but when I was growing up in Lowell, that was never a complaint. You could get inexpensive houses in Lowell all the time, but this guy just couldn't find a house that was inexpensive, and I thought, well, boy, have we gone a long way from back then. So
Sure.
and the fact that they're all mansions is just incredible. I'm a little worried about the Franco-American building. Not so much about the building itself, but about the house that George Patton's
The front.
the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about that. Somebody said the university might pick it up, and my experience with the university has been that they do an awful lot of parking lots.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know much about it either, but I was under the assumption that because it's, I don't know if it's
National Register of
yes,
Historic Places.
I don't think that it can be taken down. The house itself, the way that I understand it, it can't be taken down, but just the back portion can.
Truck leaves there. Okay, do you mind just going over that last part again?
Okay. It can't be taken down.
The way that I understand is the house itself in the front, where the nuns used to live,
Right.
can't be taken down. Just the school building that was added on after the fact is the only portion that could be taken down. So I can't imagine them making a parking lot out of it. I just don't know that much about it.
I
But
can't either, but
that's what I've been told.
I watched them
I hope
from the
not.
4th floor of the, not the Cross Point, that Cross Point's down by me, but the crossing.
Oh, you're talking about Lowell Crossing?
Lowell Crossing.
Yeah, 220
Okay.
Pawtucket, yeah.
Yeah.
What they did to the hospital, I see
What
what
they
you're
did to the
saying.
hospital, it was gone. What they did to the neighborhood and around the hospital, it was gone.
I hope
And I just worry about my house is in Lowell.
Yeah. I'm sad because my children went to that school.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
it's a
that's
great
true.
school, and it's sad that it's closing. And and it's a beautiful, beautiful house.
I know.
Have you been on the inside of that?
I've been in the inside, yeah.
It's amazing how they've kept it up on the inside. It's absolutely, the woodwork is just amazing inside
It
there.
looks pretty much the same that I would imagine that it looked like when Arrow had it.
Yeah,
I don't,
and when it was an
I'm-
orphanage too.
right, right, and I know that you know this, but Arrow was Patton's father-in-law, so
Yeah,
George Patton has some ties to that house too, and that makes that much more historic, I would think.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I don't know if you were. I shouldn't bring him up because I don't remember his name. The man who used to. The policeman who used to dress in full uniform and take care of the Patton display at the auditorium.
Oh, yes.
I can't remember his name.
Arthur
Arthur Diet.
Diet.
There you go.
Yeah, they called him Sir Arthur.
So,
Arthur Diet, yeah.
they did.
Oh,
They did
good
call
guy.
him Sir Arthur. Well, he took care of the. He took care of the displays of Patton and made sure that Patton got credit for
Yeah.
being in the air house. And,
Yes.
And
Yeah.
things like that. And as you know, probably, Patton was the single most wealthy general in World War II.
No, I didn't know that.
In America, in America, in the English, in England, and yeah, so he. So he was the he was the single most wealthy person in America among the American generals. He's the richest person because of the Air legacy, and the Air legacy, of course, was selling. Well, probably it was bogus medicine to a unsuspecting public, but Oliver Wendell Holmes once said about all of the medicines that we were selling in the 1860s and 1870s. He said we could put them all on a boat. We could send the boat out in the middle of the ocean. We could bomb the boat and sink it to the bottom of the ocean, and nobody would ever miss any of the lotions and potions and everything that we bombed,
Jeez.
because most of it was alcohol or codeine.
Oh my goodness.
So that was funny. I thought it was funny anyway. It's just a historical aside, but now the thing I wanted to ask you about was, do you get orders from the city council or something or whoever to go out and do assessments when a property is sold on the street that might be above what's been there in the past? Or do you just do it yourself?
No, that's, we do it ourselves. Actually, our guidelines come from the Department of Revenue. Everything that we do in the way of assessments is through the guidelines set by the Department of Revenue.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to follow whatever guidelines they set, not only for what we do daily, the way that the values are set annually, but also for the triennial revaluations that we do. Every 3 years we do this, triennial revaluation, where we really get into not only the assessments, but delineating the neighborhoods and so forth, and revaluing all the land values. And we also take a look at what the values are on the exempt properties as well, because we don't really look at exempt properties on an annual basis. They're not taxable, so we don't waste, for lack of a better term, we don't waste our time valuing exempt properties for tax purposes.
What is an exempt property, like a church?
Churches, schools, nonprofit agencies that don't pay taxes. Yeah. So,
Okay.
but all of what we do for assessment purposes, the guidelines come straight from the legislature and the Department of Revenue, right?
So you have to comply with the Department of Revenue, not so much the city council, but the
That's
Department of
correct.
Revenue.
Yeah. The city council actually doesn't guide us at all as to how we assess properties. It has to come through the state. Yeah.
So when I was getting tickets from the police every day for a month, that had nothing to do with the city of Lowell. It was
The tickets, what were the tickets for?
I was just kidding about
Oh.
every day, but I got a couple tickets for driving through a yellow light.
Oh, I don't, that has nothing to do with assessment
Assessment,
purposes, so I couldn't
okay,
even comment on that one.
There you go with that one. Okay. But no, I just was curious as to how the people who live next to us bought their house for $305,000
Yep.
10 years ago, and so our house value went up significantly.
Yeah, but it wasn't from 10 years ago that your house value would go up now, because we take a look at every sale that happens in the city, every sale. We take a look at that sale, and we may have to determine whether or not it was arm's length, willing buyer, willing seller. No stress, not under duress. So every sale that happens, we take a look at to make sure that it wasn't a family sale or a foreclosure sale. If it were that type of a sale, we put that aside. We only look at arm's length sales to figure out that it was part of a good real estate market.
Now, what's an arm's length sale?
A willing buyer and a willing sale.
A willing buyer and a willing seller.
Willing
Okay.
seller, that's correct.
Okay, so
They're all researched. And the way we do that, the way we research that is, one, we go to the property as much as possible, as soon as the sale has taken place, or as close to that sale as possible. And we actually talk to the buyer, we talk to the seller sometimes, if we have to figure out what that sale was all about.
okay.
They're all coded.
Okay, well, it seems a lot easier than I imagined the process to be. The process seems a lot easier than I imagined it was.
I'm making it easier than, when you're talking 27,000 properties on an annual basis,
Right.
it's really not as easy as I'm trying to make it sound. I'm trying to simplify it so that you understand how it's done. That's just one way we do it. We also look at the cost approach, and we look at the income and expenses for commercial properties or income producing properties. Those, we get income and expenses from every income producing property on an annual basis as well. And all of the income and expenses are analyzed annually, so that we can come up with income and expense ratios as well as cap rates. So I'm
So
trying
you have to do that all with the...
yeah,
oh, that's a lot of
annually.
work.
Yeah, I'm trying to simplify it because I don't want to make it sound like it's too hard either. I don't want to make people confused.
No, this has been very eye-opening. It's remarkable how it just happens. It's just part of being
It
living in the
happens,
city.
yes. It happens, and I have a team of 9 people,
Right.
and with the work that we do in-house, with the complete relist and remeasure, the cyclical program that we do in-house, not only with real estate but personal property as well. We do it because we have a great, great team of people. There's 9 of us in the city that, in my department, and without that team, we would not be able to do this in-house. We actually hired a company several years ago to do this cyclical program, and there was no way that I was going to do that again if at all possible, because to me it was a management nightmare. They hired, the company we hired brought people in from all over the place. They weren't from Lowell. They weren't from this area, and no one knew the area, and I had to go behind them and try and fix the things that they were doing. And I just swore to myself, as long as I'm working here, it's not going to happen again. So
no, it
we
isn't.
do it in-house. As long as we can do it, we'll do it, and try and save the city some money at the same time.
Well, that's great. I appreciate you coming out on this snowy day to.
No problem.
I didn't expect snow on April 5th, but
No.
especially since we had 50 or 60-degree weather last week.
Yeah.
But we got it today, so thank you for coming out on this snowy day. And
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Anytime. Thank you.
Okay. It's this has been Susan LeMay, and Susan is the head assessor at City Hall, and she works you work directly for the city manager, right?
Yes.
Okay. And she works directly for Kevin Murphy, who we've had on the show before. So, thank you very much, Susan.
Thank you.